It'll be a boost. People have been on a knife's edge about whether they can afford a house, and lower mortgage rates mean more buyers. It has had an unusual effect. There's almost no slack in the system. Because wages haven't kept up with home prices, people are having to borrow the money. And when it gets easier to do that, we see more buyers. So demand on the buy side is very strong. We're not seeing as many people come forward to sell their homes. That should create some price pressure for the first time in 5 months.
You know, one of the things I noticed is the drop in the notes is the drop off in the prevalence of bidding wars. Tell us about it. And where are bidding wars still happening?
Well, we're going to see a whole bunch of bidding wars in San Francisco because the Lyft IPO is going to create enough wealth to buy every single home for sale in San Francisco. But bidding wars were happening about 61% of the time nationwide at this time last year, and now it's down to 16%. There's no question the market is much softer right now than it was a year ago, but it's significantly better than it was in Q3 and Q4 of 2018. It was worse than almost anyone acknowledged. So we see some signs for optimism. But
so, Glenn, going back to the end of last year, which you just referenced, mortgage rate, or let's use the 10-year Treasury yield, it climbed all the way to 3.25% in November. Is that what you're talking about that really triggered this affordability issue, coupled with what had been a pretty healthy increase in home prices?
I think rates is part of it, but we also have a situation where people just feel very jumpy. We all know that the housing market is near the end of its long recovery, and so as soon as there's any bad news, everyone heads for the hills. And I think people reacted very strongly to a rate increase, and then as the market started to soften, that takes on its own dynamic. If the Fed had not intervened, if it hadn't lowered rates, if mortgages hadn't gotten cheaper, I think the housing market would have had a really dismal spring.